Hello, welcome back to the channel. This is Agent Scone, and we are doing another Arena Cube draft, so we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Let's see what awaits us this time. Last time we drafted a really sweet Nadu deck, but I'm willing to try something different this time, if that comes up. Alright, so what do we have? There's Fetch Land. We know how much I like those. There's Elish Norn, which I've mentioned before, is probably one of the better cards in best cards in the Arena Cube, like a year ago maybe. Just because there's so many enters triggers, and then you turn off all your opponents and double up all of yours, and that's completely insane. But it's a 5-drop. It's fine. So there's also a Tiny Bones, good 1 mana threat that kind of does like a Ragavan impression, so you can cast their cards from their graveyard and then spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. So I think that's probably what I'm going to take here. There's also Luminarch Aspirant, which is like a premium 2-drop if you're any sort of aggressive white base. And so I think in order for me, it goes like Tiny Bones, Fetch Land, Luminarch Aspirant, Elish Norn. Overlord of the Baelmerk also really strong card. And yeah, I'm just going to take the premium 1 mana card. Let's see where that brings us. Okay, so we're going to follow that up. I think we just take another premium black card in Grave Expectations. And again, this is the one that heists an opponent's library, heist being looking at 3 random non-land cards from their library, exile it face down, and you could spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. So clearly, we are starting off with the plan of, I'm not playing my deck, I'm playing yours. So that's cool. There's a lot of good wheels which could determine what direction we want to go with, what color we want to pair black with. Dragon's Rage Channeler is a great threat. Birds of Paradise, it's really important to have some 1 mana dorks, so you can't, especially ones like Birds of Paradise that add mana of any color, so you could just play your busted cards more early. Hallowed Fountain, if we're going into Esper. Malevolent Rumble is a good value card if we're going to go some like black-green graveyard shenanigans. But yeah, let's just delay the decision, take a Grave Expectation, stay in black. Okay. Some options. So what sticks out to me? There's an Underground Mortuary if we want to stay black-green. Nowhere to Run is very good standard card. Very good removal spell. Jadar, Murderous Rider, and Tassiger as other options. Gideon, powerful planeswalker. Lelia is a strong 3-drop. I think I'm going to take Thieving Aven. And we're just going to keep going along with this strategy, some of this like blue-black tempo shell of taking cards from the opponent. So my deck doesn't have to be good because I'm just going to play my opponent's deck. And I mean, there's a lot of good cards here, right? Gideon would be great, Lelia would be great, Nowhere to Run. Even like Terra Sunder or Underground Mortuary go in the black-green space. But I don't know, I'm feeling this kind of... I'm feeling spicy. Oh, look, Ashiok. So I'm feeling this kind of take my opponent's good cards and play them against them. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not sure if this is the most optimal, but I don't know. Heisting is pretty broken, particularly in Cube. I'm not really sure how it plays out in Alchemy or Historic or anything like that. I'm sure it's fine. But anyway, now we get to just follow up our blue-black start with a really nice blue-black planeswalker. Ashiok essentially turns into a win condition all on its own because the uptick brings it up to 5. 5 is very significant. It makes it hard to deal with on the next turn, or it essentially, like, quote-unquote, gains you a lot of life when they have to spend all their resources just to attack Ashiok down. And then if you hit something spicy, you can just play it. But then eventually you just kill them because they run out of library. Other than that, there's Shieldred's Edict as a cheap interactive spell. Torrential Gear Hulk has some nice combos, but yeah, let's just go ahead and take the Ashiok. There was also some good white cards there. Okay, so now what? It's definitely too late for Lurrus, I think. I mean, not really. It could also just be a good value piece. We would have to throw away our Thieving Aven and our Ashiok if we wanted to companion this. So I'm not sure I like that necessarily. I want to kind of stick with this controlling shell. So I think I'm gonna. I think ideally, I would want normalize. Like, say I had a bunch of rainbow lands. If like color were no object, I would take normalize as like a cheap counter spell. I think I'm gonna take the damnation because it seems like the style of deck could be weak to just a big creature onslaught. So yeah, I also like Lurrus quite a bit too, and I think there's a universe in which I took some different cards where um, that would be better. Okay, so now what? There's a lot of there's a lot of good cards for the deck. There's the Mockingbird, Spell Snare, Go for the Throat, and Marionette Apprentice. Um, Spell Snare is probably better in constructed than it is in cube. Like, yes, there's a lot of good 2 mana plays that you can just stop, but I'm not as much of a fan of it here. There's Go for the Throat for removal, but I think removal is like there's a lot of other good removal spells that we could find, and we also have the Damnation. We did take that. Marionette Apprentice, not quite what we're looking for. I think I am gonna take the Flooded Strand just because if we get one like Watery Grave, then our mana becomes really really good. Okay, now I think I want to take either the Night's Whisper or the Treasure Cruise just to have a little bit more card draw. And so far, it's not immediately obvious which one I want. I don't have that many cheap spells that fill up the graveyard. I mean, we have the Flooded Strand, we have the Grave Expectations. I think Treasure Cruise has the higher upside, where if I get enough cheap cantrips or cheap removal spells, maybe one or two more fetch lands, and then like we'll have enough fodder to fill the graveyard where Treasure Cruise on average becomes better than Night's Whisper. That was close. Like a Fatal Push. So Fatal Push, good. Liliana, also a really strong planeswalker, but we already have a couple 3 mana plays. Exclude and Harv Evidence are also fine, but I think this deck really, really wants cheap removal like a Fatal Push. And with the fetch land, you can combine that, and then you get you get to turn the Revolt on really easily. I'm just gonna take Evolved Sleeper here, another cheap threat. I could also take the Unable to Scream, but I do need to apply some amount of pressure to the opponent. And I think Evolved Sleeper does that well enough. Like, eventually they do have to answer this. It is a self-contained engine, albeit a kind of slow one. But I think I like that over the Unable to Scream. We're in like removal color, heavy black, so I'm not too concerned. So now we can just take Knight of the Ebon Legion Witch Wield. This thing is a great threat all on its own. It's kind of like an Army in a Candle by itself, kind of, sort of, in the sense that it's just a scalable threat that even the threat of activation means they won't be able to block it often, and then it just becomes like a 2/3, which then grows into a 5/6, and it gets out of hand pretty fast, all for just a 1 mana investment, so I do like that. Wow, Gideon Wield, that could be assigned to, like, I could also take Jadar. Let's take a look at that curve. Right now I have no 2-drops. Hmm. I may want to jump ship. I mean, Jadar is fine, but I think I'm going to be able to get as many black cards as I want. I'm going to spec on this Gideon, just because I think it's a really, really powerful card, and seeing it that late is definitely a sign. So, like, for instance, now I could take the Blade Splicer, which is a fine 3 mana play. So we could still play blue. Like, we could splash Ashiok and Thieving Haven, maybe a Treasure Cruise, but it just looks like we're gonna, okay, we wield the Lurrus, which I am definitely going to take here. I still don't think we're gonna companion it, but I think it's gonna be a pretty good card. And we wield the Marionette Apprentice. We might be able to companion Lurrus here. Oh, at last pick, Colt's Conscript. Okay, that's great. So now I'm going to try to enable. I think I can enable Lurrus if I. I have to throw away quite a lot of cards. We'll see. TBD. So if we're sticking more towards black white, then I should probably just take a Marsh Flats as a pseudo dual land. Like, it's obviously better if we find a Godless Shrine or something. There's also Infernal Grasp, which I know we passed on the Go for the Throat earlier, but again, just if we do end up two colors, especially in cube, the mana fixing is pretty important. So I don't mind taking a Marsh Flats here. There's also another Marsh Flats in the pack, which is still very weird to me. And of course, taking this with the assumption that we could wheel something like the Dollmaker's Shop or the Elite Spellbinder or the Restoration Angel or something like that. Okay, so I think we take, yeah, let's take Felia here. So Felia is a very premium threat and it works well with a lot of our cards. Like we can attack and blink our Blade Splicer or our Marionette Apprentice. I guess that's kind of it, but still, very very strong card. Also, there's Toby, which can comes with two bodies. We have Exercise to deal with larger scale threats that maybe stuff like Fatal Push can't quite deal with. Forsaken Miner is fine as a redundant recursive threat. We have Quag Feast, which also can deal with some more larger scale threats, especially, getting a couple fetch lands to fill the graveyard. But yeah, let's take the Felia. And there's also Baleful Strix, obviously. Great card. And I'm not like entirely convinced blue or white, but just the way that pack one went, I feel like white's going to be the more likely color that we pair with black. So now that being the case, there's a couple of picks I want here. Bitter Blossom versus Deep Cavern Bat, I think is what it comes down to. To a lesser extent, Get Lost. And then what is this? Weave the Nightmare. Choose one. If you control a non-land permanent you don't own, you may choose two instead. Heist. Gets -5/-5, or counter non-creature spell. That's pretty cool, but not really what we want. So Bitter Blossom versus Deep Cavern Bat. I think I would rather have the Deep Cavern Bat at this time. Again, just trying to play that more disruptive role as opposed to just getting a bunch of creatures. Like, they're both good, obviously. Our deck lines up in both those directions. I think I value that. Okay, now we just get Ocelot Pride. Ocelot Pride is an extraordinarily premium one mana threat. And now I think I'm going to move these blue cards off to the side. It seems unlikely that we'll play them. Ashiok's like a great card. Leaving Haven's a great card, but I don't think they're good enough to splash. Well, okay, Ashiok's good enough to splash, but in this particular deck, I'm not super convinced that we want this kind of effect. I think we just want to apply lots of pressure and be aggressive. So yeah, Ocelot Pride is really nice to see here. I'm hoping I can wheel the Harvester of Misery or the Collective Brutality. We're also getting closer and closer to actually wheeling, companioning Lurrus. Well, we have to throw away the Blade Splicer and the Gideon, but I mean, if we keep seeing cheap threats like that, then I'm not seeing that as too much of a problem. So now I can just take the Sunblessed Healer for the same reasoning. Like, there's Preacher of the Schism, which is a totally serviceable card, but I like how Sunblessed Healer kind of does what you want in a Lurrus deck, where you get to play double duty. It's either a 2-drop or it is a 4-drop, which buys back one of our premium threats. So I like that. And I think the way this works with Lurrus, you may cast a permanent spell with mana value 2. So because this is kicker, it doesn't contribute to the mana value. You can kick this from the graveyard if you have Lurrus out, which that's pretty good. There's also the Draconautics Engineer. It's just another standout card in the pack. There's I don't know, ran out of time there, but there really wasn't much else to decide. Okay, so if I'm serious about companioning Lurrus, I should take Lonely End just as a fine removal spell, which has some upside against Planeswalkers. The best card is definitely Shieldred, so Now I have to weigh how much I value um how much I value companioning Lurrus. Actually, I think I will take it. Like, there's a white fetch again, but I already have a couple, so if I find the Orzhov land, it should be fine. And then I'm not giving up that much by specking on this. So, like, if it doesn't work out, or if, like, we get enough stuff where I can just cut all of these expensive cards and companion Lurrus, that's, like, totally fine. But I wasn't giving up that much in that pack that I think I'd rather just take. Because if we can't end up companioning Lurrus, Shieldred is, like, really insane. Okay, so now do I want Cut Down or Thraben Inspector? And I think I'm going to go with Thraben Inspector because, I mean, we have all of these cheap things where, like, in high numbers, they end up greater than the sum of their parts, but you really need to have the card velocity and quantity in order to make that happen. Thraben Inspector just comes with a clue. You can crack that for a card. Thraben Inspector does so much. Great with Lurrus. And so is Prairie Survivalist. This is a really cool alchemy card. So 2 mana, 0/1 flyer. Beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control perpetually gets +1/+0, and then a creature card in your hand also perpetually gets +1/+0. So that's pretty strong. Okay, now I get to yeah, let's take the Dollmaker's Shop. Notably, this does not work with Lurrus if we want a companion Lurrus, but I mean that's fine. Like, we already have cards that we're gonna probably try to play if that don't work with Lurrus. I think I will take the Exercise here. That's something that we are lacking a little bit. We already have a couple recursive threats, so we don't really need the Forsaken Miner necessarily. I'm just going to take Exercise to help deal with big things. Wow. Ranger of Eos is insane in this deck. Oh, man. But we already have a couple fours, and I think I'm going to take the Bitter Blossom. Like, okay, the Lurrus I know is kind of warping my picks a little bit, but being able to possibly companion a Lurrus is such a strong prospect, and it seems like we're getting enough cards where that is possible. Like, say we cut all of this. That's cutting 4 cards, and then we're down to, I don't know, we still need a fair amount of playables, like 6 or 7, but it's not impossible. It seems like my colors have kind of been open enough. It's tricky. It's tricky. Okay, so again, and also no black white land, so the fixing's not going to be at the most premium, but that's okay. So few options. They're really, I think let's if we try to stick with the whole Lurrus plan, I see 3 options. We see Zulapur Cutthroat, we see Golden Sidekick, and we see Splitskin Doll. I probably will take the Doll because we don't have that much in terms of the life gain. I mean, we have a little bit, the Deep Cavern Bat and the Lurrus. This card, whenever you gain life, a random creature card in your hand perpetually gets +X/+X for X the amount of life you gain, so it can really scale. I think I'm going to take the Split Skin Doll for the reasons I was talking about earlier. You just get that card velocity. You draw a card if you have a creature with power 2 or less. And then we could probably wheel that Golden Sidekick, honestly. Okay. So there's fetch lands, and there's a Bloodthirsty Conqueror, which we have a little bit of a life gain theme going. It's just so expensive. You have this Speedbrute Stalker, an alchemy card, which you can, when it enters, you choose an opponent, secretly choose a creature or planeswalker that player controls, and then they sacrifice it. Or, sorry, they sacrifice a creature or planeswalker of their choice, and then sacrifice the chosen permanent. So you can kind of mind game with them a little bit. I guess I just take one of the fetch lands. There's also like Stalwart Realm Warden. I still feel convinced I can companion this Lurrus. Okay, a couple more premium 1 mana cards in Kythian and Esper Sentinel. Oh, they also have Death's Shadow in this cube. I don't think I'm hurting myself enough to make this work yet. I mean, I don't have like shock lands, for instance. I only have like 3 fetches, so I'm not convinced that I can make that work, but I am going to I'm just going to take the Kythian. It has the highest upside. Hopefully I can wheel that Esper Sentinel. We'll see. Okay. All right, so there's a couple options here. There's Gonti Shieldred as again, they don't work with Lurrus though. So for us, it's Ruby Collector versus the Starscape Cleric. I guess we are kind of starting to go for some sort of a life gain theme, but I think I'm going to start with the Ruby Collector. Just try to have a multitude of one drops. Because when you attack with three or more creatures, you conjure a card named Mox Ruby into your hand, so that can help to double spell, triple spell, and then it's like a mass pump effect, which you can only do once. Mm, I changed my mind. I'm going to take the Starscape Cleric. I think that will overall be better for the deck. Okay, so here there's not too much for us. A bunch of lands that don't help. There's no Godless Shrine. I'm very concerned about that because we're pretty split on colors and everything's so cheap. So we could definitely run into some issues there. But I'm just going to take Pylon. We have, this is like the perfect removal spell, I think, for the deck because it looks like it costs 4, but it actually doesn't, because with the Convoke mechanic, we're able to cast this for cheap, destroy basically any creature or planeswalker, and then Surveil too, which I like. I would take Mana Tithe. Mana Tithe seems excellent here. So we're playing all of these cheap, efficient threats that are very high priority, and then your opponent's going to have to commit to the board early to either like have some defensive speed or interact, and then you just get to Mana Tithe them for a single mana. You get to still double spell, maybe on turn 3 you play a Mana Tithe, and then you play a 2-drop or something like that. So yeah, we're gonna take Mana Tithe. Mana Tithe pretty good. I think I have to take Godless Shrine here. It's very unfortunate. There's a lot of other great cards that we want, but like, okay, I feel pretty committed to wanting to be companioning Lurrus. So because now we essentially have, with this we have 4 dual lands, and I just wish I could take this whole pack, but it was painful. But now I don't have to take any more fixing for the rest of the draft, so we should be okay. Now I can take Emperor Bones. At this point it really is just, does this card work with Lurrus? Wait, why would it have the companion option here if I can't drag it over? Anyway, Emperor Bones is totally fine, serviceable, can interact with the graveyard, maybe steal a threat. We did in fact wheel Zulaport Cutthroat and Golden Sidekick. That is excellent. So I am fairly certain we will be able to companion Lurrus. So we're going to take the Golden Sidekick, and then we're gonna unfortunately these all don't work with Lurrus, but we do get a free piece of fixing in Prismatic Vista, and it's always comes into play untapped, which is great. So it's essentially another dual land. Okay, so we have Death Shadow versus Bitter Triumph. Yeah, let's take the Bitter Triumph. I don't think we can enable Death Shadow. Actually, we really can't enable Death Shadow. We're gaining life. That's kind of like a sub theme of our deck. So yeah, we're just gonna take another removal spell. We wield the Ruby Collector. All right, perfect. So we gave up some power. Oh, Tesa doesn't work with Lurrus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So actually, we have to make a couple cuts. Ooh, Last Ride. I think that's actually not a bad engine. No pun intended. Oh, what, last pick Mishra's Bauble in our Lurrus deck. Amazing. You can't dream this stuff up better. That's okay. Anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and companion Lurrus. So I think we still want to have a 17 land deck. You might think that you want 16 lands because our curve is so cheap, but the problem you run into is that, especially with Lurrus, like, okay, first of all, you have to pay 3 mana to put it in your hand. And then you have to, ideally, you want to get to the point where you're like playing Lurrus and then you immediately cast something. Like, if you have a Mishra's Bauble in the graveyard, you can just do that immediately for only 3 mana. But ideally, you want to play Lurrus and then immediately get some sort of value. Either hold up a Mana Tithe or cast a Ruby Collector, an Ocelot Pride, or something. And there are many turns where you want to double or triple spell, and we're getting some amount of quote unquote card draw with the Tiny Bones and other heist cards that basically draw cards from your opponent's deck. So yeah, I think we are okay with that. The Starscape Cleric seems really good. This whole life gain sub theme seems strong. I think an easy cut is Damnation because like we're the beat not beat down necessarily, but we're the heavy creature based deck. Bauble's good. It's like a free card. I really don't want to cut any of the one drops. I guess I could sideboard in the last ride in certain matchups. Mm, I guess exercise as well. I don't necessarily need that. If I see like a problematic artifact or enchantment, or they just have like extraordinarily big cards, I can cut those. It's possible I could get away with 16 lands. I know I just said all of that stuff about wanting to double, triple spell. Actually, I think I will cut the Ruby Collector mainly because we just don't have like any free like we never picked up a Sacred Foundry or a Blood Crypt or something, which we would essentially have quote unquote three or four red um, sources in order to more consistently do this. And I don't think we really need to have this ability on hand. Like, yes, it'd be nice to get the Mox Ruby, but I feel like as long as we just play the 17 lands, we should be okay. Yeah, I'm convinced we don't need that. And honestly, the mana base looks pretty good. We have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep. So we have 11, 11 mana base, and we get to Companion Lurrus. This deck looks really sweet. And yeah, let's just go ahead and jump right into the first match. Hoping to continue the trend of 3-0s, but whatever happens, happens. Always a fan of the companion decks. All right. So we're playing against SLP, CSTR, Slipster. Sure. Oh, we win the die roll. Okay, this hand looks serviceable. We can go probably turn 1 Conscript, just because it provides a faster clock by itself. And then we could follow that up with the Knight of the Ebon Legion. Or we could just follow it up with the 2-drop. So we'll go Splitskin Doll, draw a card. And yep, this deck's great. Hit him for 2. So, okay, Bankbuster's fine. Let's just keep attacking them. That sounds fun. So, okay, I like this. So we can go Knight of the Ebon Legion. Hit them for 4. And then we do get to grow the knight at the end step. And actually, I could hold up the Bitter Triumph, but I think at this point, they had such a slow start. I think I just want to apply more pressure. And then now I can hold up Bitter Triumph plus Pylon next turn. They're also just going to concede the game. So I'd really like to thank my opponent. I did, in fact, pay them. They are, in fact, a paid actor. So let's go ahead and jump back in. There's probably maybe some logic to bringing in the last ride if they are like a slower, more controlling deck. But I guess if they're a slower, more controlling deck, then I just need to kill them fast. Anyway, this hand is busted, so let's keep it. Okay, well, Inquisition of Kozilek, very, very good against the Lurrus deck. So they take, I don't know what they take here. My hand is very good. I imagine they would want to take the Ocelot Pride because it just has the greatest value all by itself. But maybe they have removal for some of my cheaper threats, so they are deciding what is more important to take. It's possible they could have 2 removal spells. Okay, they took the Deep Cavern Bat. That's interesting. So they must have some pretty good cards in their hand. Well, we're going to go ahead and present the Ocelot Pride and then see what happens. Okay, that's what I expected. I expected some form of removal. Okay, now I think we'll just go ahead and because we drew that Tiny Bones, we'll go double 1-drop and then pass the turn. So Tiny Bones allows us to cast a non-land permanent. Okay. So Yeah, I guess there's no harm in attacking with the tiny bones. Yeah, they're just going to take that. And then we'll go Flooded Strand, Marionette Apprentice. And then next turn, next turn we can flip Kithian. That's pretty good. So now I have to worry about the opponent potentially having some very good draws. Okay, they are just going to stay back on the defense. That's totally makes sense. Let's just go ahead and get our Godless Shrine. Okay, let's play this land that they know about. Let's attack with all of these guys. Let's leave the Marionette Apprentice back. I imagine they're going to block. That's fine. I feel like they're supposed to block the Kithian in order to make me waste more of my mana, but that's that's fine. Anyway, we're gonna flip Kithian. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? So yeah, I think we are going to force the Oracle of the Alpha to um, attack the Gideon next turn, and we're gonna go Cult Conscript, and we're gonna put Lurrus in the hand. I did it that way, by the way, just to play around some sort of a quench style effect by using the Cold Conscript. I still have 3 mana up, and then with the Lurrus being a special action, I just put it in the hand. I don't have to worry about getting countered. Nothing. Great. So I think we're gonna go ahead and just, yeah, let's just zero Gideon, because it also doesn't die to Oracle next turn, so I feel fairly safe doing that. There is a chance that I could get board wiped here, which I don't like. Oh, but actually, wait, hold on. If we go Lurrus, and then, well, what I was going to do is I was going to go Lurrus into Deep Cavern Bat, maybe take their board wipe or something like that, and then they have to. Anyway, yeah, that was good. That was nice. So deck seems pretty strong. Always love Lurrus decks. Those are very fun. There's lots of cheap threats, lots of efficient removal, and it's also nice when your opponents don't do anything. But I would, in fact, like to play against an opponent where it's a bit of a challenge. It's okay, we'll get there. All right, we're playing against Tremel JW. So we win the nope, we win the die roll. Can't always be lucky. That's fine. Huh. Okay, this hand I'm not the biggest fan of. If this was like a godless shrine, I think I would keep it. Or if Kithian and Thraben Inspector were Tiny Bones and yeah, I don't think we can keep this. I think we have to mulligan. Okay, this hand's a lot better. So let's keep this. So there's an argument to get rid of the Mana Tithe. Hmm. There's an argument to get rid of the Bitter Blossom, but that can be a good source of like generic pressure. Pylon, oh, it's so good with the Bitter Blossom. Hmm. I think I'll get rid of Cult Conscript. There's a lot of other cheap threats that we have. Like okay, we're probably gonna go like turn one Knight, turn two Bitter Blossom, then eventually hold up Mana Tithe. Like we don't have to hold up Mana Tithe on turn one or two. Okay, there's another land, so we're gonna not. I guess we won't show them. We'll play a Knight, and then next turn we're gonna probably go Plains Bitter Blossom. I imagine, unless we draw another black 1 mana spell, in which case we could hold the Mana Tithe. Opponent play Impetuous Lootmonger, so when this comes into play, it's a 2/2 first strike. And then when it enters, discard a card and then heist an opponent's library, and then whenever they cast a spell they don't own, they make a treasure. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and play out the Bitter Blossom here and start that train. Unfortunately, I can't attack yet, but next turn it's possible for me to get in. All right, they're going to attack me for 2. So the problem with the heisting is that my entire deck is cheap, so they are 100% able to play their card, my card. So that might be a problem. Okay, they're just going to go for that. I'm okay with that. All right, cool. Very good draw. So we can go. So now we can go Ocelot Pride, and then we can hold up Pylon and Mana Tithe. We cannot hold up both. We're one creature short of that. But hopefully my opponent does some sort of big. Okay, Obliterating Bolt. Oh, that's pretty disgusting, actually, with the Molten Impact. So yeah, that's pretty unfortunate. I think we're just gonna have to let this happen. I could have piled on, but I think it's better to wait. Okay, we're gonna Mana Tithe that. Okay, Bitter Blossom makes a guy. So all right, let's go for the Emperor of Bones, and then at the beginning of combat we get to exile. What's in my graveyard? Eh. Now let's take their Seer Slicer Goblin. I think that's pretty good. And this triggers at the beginning of the end step, which, yeah, so it would see if we Emperor Bones did like next turn or something. Um, I think I'm gonna take the 2 again because it seems likely they'll play something a little bit scarier than what I've seen. I think at this point, if they point another removal, like a click and point removal spell on my Emperor Bones, then I'll just pile on just for the mainly for the value. And also the Bitter Blossom is ticking down. They do nothing. So that is really weird. They probably have a removal spell and they're like saving it for Lurrus. So I think I'm going to take this opportunity to use up my mana and pile on the Lootmonger. Let's see if they do something in response here. Okay, cool. So I get to smooth. Oh, wow. Yeah, we don't need that. Get out of here. All right. So we don't need those. Make a body. Golden Sidekick. I like that. I think we'll just exile another card from the yard. Probably the Lootmonger. That's pretty good. So, notably, with the Impetuous Lootmonger, if you play this while you have no cards in hand, you just get to heist. Discarding is not it's not if you discard a card then heist. It's just yeah. Anyway, let's get in. Okay, let's go ahead and put Lurrus in the hand, I think. Okay, are they gonna point removal? Stoke the Flames. Okay, that's fine. So I don't get my value off of the Emperor Bones, but I don't really need it. Okay, Bonar Dracosaur is a big problem. All right, is there anything I can do here? So let's just we gotta try to draw a card. Marionette Apprentice. So which one do we care about more? This is gonna draw them so many cards. I'm not a fan of that. Hopefully we could just kind of burn them out. This doesn't have trample. So I think I'm going to play the Sidekick first. No attacks. Oh boy. All right. So oh, I see. It's land and non-land. So they don't have a dinosaur. That's fine. Okay, Bloodthirsty Adversary, they get to play a spell for free. That being the Molten Collapse. Okay, they're probably gonna, yep, they're gonna kill the Sidekick. And then I am gonna try to stop them from doing any damage to me because I don't want them to be able to cast this Light Up the Stage. Okay. Well, At this point, we're going to go for Lurrus plus Ocelot Pride and then hit them for one. Okay, just a couple lands. Not a big deal. That 3-1 does not do that much against the Ocelot Pride. I still don't know what they heisted from me. I feel like they took a removal spell and they're saving it for Lurrus, but I have to progress the game state to a point where I have some kind of chance because right now I don't really have that. The Dracosaur is just. Oh, they took Sunblessed Healer. Sure. Oh, okay. That's probably game over because, yeah, they do that and then they get a Bladering Bolt. They kill Lurrus. That's probably. Oh, and they kill. Yeah, no, I'm not. We'll keep playing, but it's so unlikely that we win from this position. I don't really think I need to do that. Okay, that's somewhat helpful. I'll keep going. It's not impossible, but it's just really hard. So take something from them. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not beating that. Okay. So let's get the exercise in there for sure. And then I think that's it. And then what am I cutting? I'm gonna probably cut maybe. I think the cult conscript. I think it's probably just like my most expendable creature, and they seem to be doing bigger and better things with the Bonehard Dracosaur, the Bloodthirsty Adversary. I don't necessarily think we need the cult conscript, so yeah, a little bit unfortunate there, but I think we should be fine. And I also did not see any board wipes, so I'm gonna try to go as quickly as possible. Wow, this is really bad. Mulligan. Okay, this is a lot better. So we're gonna go ahead and keep this. I think I don't have any creatures is the problem, so I think I actually just get rid of the pylon. We already have removal to deal with their threats. Let's go ahead and bobble them, see what's going on. Okay, that's a bit of a problem. So we're just gonna go ahead, I think just play out the tap land. I don't I could have held up Mana Tithe. It just seems unlikely they're gonna play something on turn one. Like, what am I gonna do? Counter Mishra's Bauble? I don't think so. Yeah, that's fine. Now we can hold up Mana Tithe. Oh, great draw. Now I can play Thraben Inspector, hold up Mana Tithe, and Fatal Push. So yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, excellent. Mana Tithe. Love Mana Tithe. Okay, Ocelot Pride. I think we'll just go ahead and let's attack for one. I could Ocelot Pride, hold up Clue, and Bitter Triumph. It's also possible I'm just supposed to go Lurrus, but they have a lot of removal. Actually, I changed my mind. I am going to go Ocelot Pride because if they don't have the removal spell for Ocelot Pride, things get great. And if they think that they can just play a creature to essentially perma-block the Ocelot Pride, that doesn't work either. So just really hoping they don't have some sort of removal spell. Okay. Hired Claws, annoying. Okay, perfect. They're just playing a couple of creatures. So those I get to just kill. And I assume they don't attack. All right, let's pay 3 life, kill Bloodthirsty Adversary. Perfect. Oh, let's Fatal Push this. Unfortunately, I don't have any creature cards in my hand, so I don't get to get a boost, but I mean, we're going wide now, and we already saw from the last game they don't seem to have a board wipe. So I feel like we should be able to be okay just going with like a go wide strategy. They're also going with the go wide strategy. That I don't like. Okay. Well, at least we get to wait, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Yeah, that's pretty good. So we get the city's blessing, which is very helpful. So let's go ahead and go golden sidekick attack. Gain a life. I messed up because this should now have a permanent boost. That was definitely a mistake. Hopefully it's not that relevant. It probably is really relevant because now it dies to Pia and Kira Nalar, and they're probably going to go land, Sky Sovereign. Okay, it seems like they're going to use that to kill the Ocelot Pride, I assume. But if they do that, I still get to go Golden Sidekick attack, and then I can go Lurrus plus Ocelot Pride. Man, what a punt. I Oh, okay, that's fine. Sure. Okay, Bitter Blossom's good draw. So what do I have in bin? I don't have anything in the bin necessarily. So let's just start with an attack with the Golden Sidekick, and this costs 3 mana. It doesn't seem like they have another removal spell. I could just start pressuring with the cats because I'm going to make a lot more. Yeah, I think we're gonna try to do that. Oh, they eat one with the PN. Nah, I changed my mind. I think we just get in with the Golden Sidekick. Let's see if they have a removal spell for this. Okay, they're gonna stoke the flames, the Golden Sidekick. I think that's totally fine. So I'm not getting life, but I think we're just gonna keep going with the go wide strategy. So we're gonna draw a card with the clue. And then they do just get to kill the... Yeah, let's go with the Bitter Blossom. Hold the land in hand. I don't want to expose the Lurrus to removal because they have it on board with the Piankir Nalar. I feel like I'd much rather just hold back and yeah, force them to use their removal spells on my board. Okay, I will take the free block that you have given me. And then they make a 1-1. All right, I make a 1-1. Okay, Evolve Sleeper. So now I kind of want to... It's just so annoying. I really wish I could protect Lurrus. Let's think. If we go Evolve Sleeper and we can immediately bring it up to a 3/3, I actually don't mind that. So yeah, let's do that right away. Turn it into a 2/2, turn this into a 3/3, and then I could just start pressuring them. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to pressure. Yeah, I think this is okay. My Fairy Rogue can block the Seer Slicer Goblin if they want to do that. Okay, they just have all the interaction. Yeah, this is really tough. The PN Kira Nalar being around is not great. Okay, well, I will eat one of their 1/1s. They make a 1/1. I make a 1/1. That is a horrible draw. I think at this point I'm forced to Lurrus. I'm forced to Lurrus and probably just get the Golden Sidekick out. So yeah, let's go ahead and thin the deck, get a Plains, and then we'll go Lurrus into a... Yeah, let's go Golden Sidekick. Just to try to gain more life. Obviously, it would be better if this was a 4/3. I think that was actually really, really significant. If my opponent ever finds a land too, the game basically just ends. That's really bad. I mean, okay, well, Lurrus wasn't surviving that anything. Okay. Okay, that's a good draw. Just draw a card. Grave Expectations, I like that. Let's take something from them. Glorybringer, that's a sweet card. Yeah, Glorybringer seems excellent here. Um, let's attack them with these. Okay, get to gain some life. And then we'll pass the turn. So next turn, Glorybringer. All right, that's not great. Okay, they get to blow that up. This cruise for 3. So they can... All right, I'm a block. They just always get to replace it with another. So now the problem is the Glorybringer is just going to die to this Sky Sovereign if I have attack. Is there any way out of this? I suppose I'm just supposed to try to kill them in the air with the fairy rogues. I think the way I win this game is having them get trigger happy with the Sky Sovereign and then attack with both of the fairy rogues, play Tiny Bones. Actually, if anything, I can play Tiny Bones plus Glorybringer. No, because that then I just run into the same problem with the Sky Sovereign. So, okay, we're gonna play Tiny Bones, and then I really want. I suppose I just have to play the Glorybringer out, and then pass the turn. The Sky Sovereign makes things very uncomfortable for me. Okay, Rabble Masters. That's good. That's actually kind of okay because. Oh, never mind. They just do that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can kill the Sky Sovereign, and they can only deal 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker. Okay, so they're just going to go all out here. Is there. Interesting. Oh, they're going to kill it. Okay, okay, okay. That's game loss. So, yeah, that was basically my only hope of winning. So, let's think. They're leaving themselves. No, they're not. They're not leaving themselves completely defenseless. So, yeah, it's basically completely over. Is there anything that we can grab from their graveyard? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's just not enough. Well, I feel like I want to trade off here and not take 6 there. I think I could take 2. Yeah, this is looking really bad. Overlord's coming. That's a land. They just get to keep doing this. Yeah, that's gonna be it for me. I think the biggest mistake was not putting Lurrus in the hand when I had the golden sidekick, but that's all right. Opponent's deck was very strong. Let's see if we can get the honorable 2-1. All right, and we're gonna pair up against our last opponent. We're playing against Reynald, and hopefully we'll have some good luck and have fun. And we win the die roll, and this hand does not look particularly keepable. This hand's much, much better. I think I'm actually okay to put back a land. So yeah, let's keep 6. We're gonna go Kythian on turn 1, and then probably the Prairie Survivalist on turn 2. I think the fact that we have double black 1-drops and we're going to play Kythian on turn 1 means we want to put back the plains, just in case something happens. So shock this in, play Kythian. Because now it's opening up the door to say if they have like a Thoughtseize effect and they take the Prairie Survivalist, I still am able to play double one drop next turn, which might be what I want to do because that means that's a turn three flipped Kithian. There's obviously a lot of factors that go into what we want to do here. Like if they play a 1/1 or no, they're just gonna go tap land. Okay, that's that I think changes things. Does it? So we can go Prairie Survivalist, and that's fine. This triggers when it and at least two other creatures attack this combat. So the way we get this flipped on turn three is to play double one drop, and then on the next turn we can attack. Holding up the Mana Tithe is tempting, but yeah, I think I like the double one drop strategy a little bit more, just for that really high upside. And then even if they're able to deal with the Kithian, we're still able to get in for a little bit more damage, and we can even do like hold up the activation to make this a 2/2 and hold up the Mana Tithe. So that's something that I am interested in. Opponent goes blue-white. Maybe some sort of a controlling deck. They're just going to pass the turn. All right. Unfortunately, I can't play Prairie Survivalist and hold up the swamp. So we're just going to go and play this land. We're going to go to attacks. We'll see if they have some sort of interaction. Maybe something to exile the Kithian. If it's just a damage, or if it's a destruction based thing, then we can just do this. Well, anyway, it doesn't look like they have anything, so I'm going to turn this into a 2/2. Okay. All right. Mana Tithe. That worked out. Just kind of baiting that a little bit. Okay. And then we'll go to damage. Let that happen. All right. And then we'll go ahead and just we'll just uptick this to 5. Pass. So I think the only problem now that I got, maybe it was a little greedy to do that, because I could have just like held up the Mana Tithe now, but hopefully it doesn't matter too much. Okay. So now what? I'm a little afraid of a board wipe, so let's see. Let's go with a Gideon animate, and then attack them. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can make this a 3/3, but I don't think that doesn't change the clock. I think I'd rather just put Lurrus in the hand. So they're dead in a lot of ways. If they deal with Gideon, I still have lethal on board. I have lethal with just one attacker. Okay. Cool. So they've showed me Bant fixing and Get Lost, and that's it. So they're definitely a more controlling sort of deck. That being the case, I'm anticipating some bigger threats and maybe some games where I get my board wiped and I need to rebuild. So I think for that reason, I'm going to bring in the Last Ride as like a card advantage engine that doesn't rely on my creatures, and also the Exercise, which will help deal with bigger threats. And then in turn, I will get rid of the Cult Conscript. It did a lot of work in that game, but I imagine it gets weaker, especially when we're on the draw. And then we'll get rid of... I didn't see any cheap creatures, so it could be like Fatal Push. I'm not entirely convinced that's correct. A lot of the other 2 drops just get inherent value all by themselves, so even if they get the removal spell on it, they don't... I'm not feeling too bad about it. It could be the Golden Sidekick, because if we're anticipating like hard removal, then it doesn't matter how big my creatures get. I think It's either that or the Fatal Push. They showed me no creatures, but then again, they showed me almost nothing at all. So I'm inclined to want to get rid of. Hmm. I feel like I'm gonna be real sorry when they play like a premium like Psychic Frog or some stupid thing like that. So I'm gonna get rid of the Golden Sidekick and then run it like this. So now if they have like a lot of they sideboard in a lot of creature removal, it gets a little less effective against the last ride. I think we should be okay. Okay. Hand looks pretty good. Here's that Fatal Push. All right. We get to go turn 1 Kythian again, which is nice. So no turn 2 or sorry, turn 3 flip Kythian possible. All right, they're wasting no time. They're get losting that. That's totally fine. That's a good draw. Let's go ahead and bat them. Let's see what they've got going on in the hand. All right, they have Exercise, which does not seem great against me, Teferi, and Phantom Interference. If they have Phantom Interference, I could just always play around it, and then they might just be forced to cycle it. But then again, I feel like with my current hand, I can beat I can beat them before they get out of Teferi. So I think I will just go ahead and take the Phantom Interference. Because right now the Exercise doesn't do anything. The rest of their hand is just not conducive to stopping my like onslaught of creatures. So now they are debating if they're there's no way. All right, 1, 2, 3. So let's start by mapping on the bat. Okay, so we drew a plains, which is fine. I was thinking about playing the Starscape Cleric now. I guess I can wait for it. This also produces the faster clock, which I think I value more than drawing another card. I know that they know about the planes, but I'd rather go ahead and get this value here. Mainly I was doing that to try to pump up the Deep Cavern Bat. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So now they're gonna play the Teferi probably. 1, 2, 3. Let's play this land. Let's go Thraben Inspector, Marionette Apprentice. So now, yeah, if I do this, make the servo. So now I can still attack with both of my creatures and still hold up the pylon. Deal some damage. Pass a turn. Gonna be a little telling that I didn't crack the map. But now they're just gonna go ahead and I would assume slam Teferi. Hopefully they don't have some sort of unnerving grasp the servo. So I actually think I'm gonna fatal push my own creature to stop them from getting their manifest dread value. I also do some damage with the Marionette Apprentice. So okay, cool, great. Okay, let's go flooded. Well, what do I want to do here? Do I care about holding up the pylon? The answer is probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess I don't have to. Let's map onto the Deep Cavern Bat. Let's use Up Swamp. Also triggers the Marionette Apprentice with the map. I like Tiny Bones. I think I'm willing to keep that. In fact, I think I'm willing to just draw it. So yeah, let's go ahead and draw that. And cracking the map also, again, triggers the Marionette Apprentice. We'll play out the Tiny Bones. Just kind of force a board wipe. And then we'll swing out. All right, deal some damage, pass the turn. And they really need board wipe here, but we haven't even had to use Lurrus yet. Yeah, if they're just going to slam it to Teferi, that's like completely acceptable. I just have so much interaction. Okay, so they're going to put that on its owner's library from the top. That's fine. We get the Phantom Interference back. And then they just concede the game. Yep, that sounds about right. Okay, so pretty good. We got the 2-1, honorable 2-1. Got our money back. Can't complain. Deck was awesome. I love Lurrus companion decks. So the biggest weakness was that when the opponent had a lot of removal, and especially if a Molten Rebuke or whatever it was, that alchemy card where it kind of loads up excess damage, and then the next time you cast another spell, it does the excess damage to another creature. That was particularly brutal because especially because a lot of the cards in the deck are so cheap. But in any case, there was a lot of value, lots of big cheap threats, and lots of recursion. Life gain sub theme. Pylon was very impressive, and cheap removal. Yeah, overall pretty solid deck. Happy to get the 2-1 with it, and thanks for watching.